Champion, welcome, Batten.
You win.
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 8 of the Danny Batten MMA show, only on Ace Podcast Nation. I'm your host, Si, and here at Ace Podcast Nation, we've got all sorts of podcasts and shows on everything from football to mental health to music, films and TV to MMA and wrestling. Something for everyone. Weekly show live every Monday, 7 p.m. The Andy Campbell Championship show is live on Facebook.com/AceCastNation and youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Join us in the live chat to talk about the biggest stories from the football world and break down all the championship football action. Next week, or actually not next week, this week, on Friday, we have a new series, My Story, beginning, where I take the guests through their careers and through different instances, different things which have happened throughout their career, right up to when they've retired or current day, depending on who it is. The first episode is with former England cricketer Chris Lewis, who takes me through from his childhood right up to the end of his cricket career, which ended in controversial circumstances, and right up to his comeback a few years later, including a short stint in prison as well, and the effect that had on his mental health and his life in general. We also, this past Saturday, had UK indie band The Crooks join us for a chat, and they also played us out with their single She Walks Alone ahead of their sellout tour and their new release of their new single, which is out on Friday the 28th of February. So please check those shows out. As usual, they're all available in video format at youtube.com and at all the usual podcasting apps. Sorry, I just had a really weird message on my screen, so I thought I'd better get rid of that. As usual, today's show is brought to you by Away Day Apparel. Away Day Apparel is a group of casually obsessed football fans looking to bring something different to the wardrobes of like-minded people. Please visit their website at awaydayapparel.co.uk. I'll put the links in the description, and I highly recommend giving them a follow on social media. And especially for viewers and listeners of Ace Podcast Nation, if you use the code AA Podcast Nation, all in lowercase, you'll have 10% off your deal, your order. 10% off. It's a good deal. And today we are talking a lot. We have MMA covers all combat sports really. So we're talking all the big shows of yesterday as we record this on Sunday. We'll be talking Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. We'll be talking UFC Auckland. We'll be talking Bellator 240, Bellator Dublin, and a few other bits and pieces. Joining me to discuss all of this and more is my guest, former Cage Warriors featherweight champion, MMA, UK MMA legend, Mr. Danny Batten. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Hey, you're right, Si. I'm exhausted from the weekend's escapades with all that's happened. Fight shows galore.
Yes, trying to watch it all. It's just like, I don't know. I got to say, I don't know what Bellator were thinking, putting on, I think, like 3 shows over 2 days. It's just, I'm not sure that's ideal. And the way they did it was a bit weird because I didn't even realize there was a show Friday. So we're not going to talk about that because I haven't watched it, and I'm assuming you haven't watched it because I didn't even know about it. But then obviously you had the Bellator Dublin card, but then they also put Bellator 240 in the middle of that, but then didn't show that until 3:00 in the morning in the UK.
Right.
It was really weird how they did it because the prelims for Bellator Dublin were on YouTube from 4:30 Saturday afternoon. Then they switched over for the people who were there to the Bellator 240 show, which didn't show on TV until 3:00 in the morning on Sky Sports. And then at 10:00, they did the main card of Bellator Dublin on Channel 5, which, again, like, I feel sorry for the people who were watching it live Because if you're there from the first fight at 4:30 to the last fight at 12 o'clock, that's a long old stint of watching, mixed martial arts. And some of those fighters you wouldn't have been, the people wouldn't have been familiar with either. So it's a bit of a stint, one for the lovers of the sport, I think. So we're going to start off. We're going to talk about the co-main event and the main event of the Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder fight and card. But just before we just wanted to really briefly touch, obviously your fighter Tom Mearns announced this week that he's got a fight lined up for Cage Warriors, and he signed a couple of fight deal. That's obviously good news. Gives him something to aim for now. Obviously, after his Bellator Dublin fight fell through.
I mean, people know by now that there was, some issue with the commission, and it's not an issue with the commission so much, but the commission are very, very black and white with the way they do things regards, how much weight they cut leading up to fights. And Tom had a misunderstanding on how that worked, and was late in handing in, his weight update or something through his doctor. It was something along those lines, and and so it just didn't happen with Bellator, unfortunately. But to make sure that we don't have any other hiccups, he's decided he wants to fight at lightweight, because he is a really big featherweight. He's not the tallest and that, but he's really quite stocky and very, very thick set. So he's fighting at lightweight on Cage Warriors now. He's got a several fight deal. So that's kind of good. He just now feels grounded. He's got focus, and I think that's good for that type of personality.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So does he have to drop much weight to go to lightweight?
He's still cutting a fair bit. I mean, there are bigger, naturally bigger lightweights out there than Tom. You get 6-footers that are at lightweight. Tom's 5'8". But like I say, he is stocky and very, very thick. But as a featherweight, he'll walk around over 80 kilos out of training, and he cuts down to 66. That's a fair old substantial bit of weight to cut. So lightweight might suit him better in terms of comfort and prep, and make sure we don't have any more hiccups like we had with Bellator. So let's just see how he goes at lightweight.
Yeah, indeed. Funny enough, we'll be talking a bit about the effect of weight cutting can have on different fighters a bit later in the show. Just in terms of what it takes out of you, even if you make the weight comfortably, it can still have an effect when you come around to the fighting and the energy levels. When you have that adrenaline dump after the initial couple of rounds. Look, people, there's so much MMA and boxing to talk about from this weekend. We can't possibly talk about it all in detail. So the main focus of the show is going to be, we're going to talk the co-main event and the main event of the Las Vegas card with Fury and Wilder. Then we're going to talk about the UFC Auckland card, main card, in detail like we normally do. And then we're going to kind of discuss Bellator, Dublin and 240 generally. And then we're going to finish off just touching on the Cody Davis versus Umar Sadiq fight, because we had Cody on the show a couple of weeks back. And then we'll finish with a couple of questions. And then we'll probably be going to bed, because it'll be God knows what time, because we've talked about so much combat sports. So with no further ado, let's get into the co-main event of the Las Vegas card, which was the IBF heavyweight title eliminator between Charles Martin and Gerald Washington. Obviously, Charles Martin lost his title to Anthony Joshua. Look, I got to be honest. For me, I did not enjoy this fight. It was one of those, like, I don't want to say unwatchable, but I did not enjoy it. And this is the kind of thing which makes me personally, for my personal taste, lean towards preferring to watch MMA over boxing. I didn't enjoy it, let me say. First round, bit of a slugfest. And Washington looked rattled right at the end of that first round.
He did.
He just looked as if he was, maybe if they had gone on an extra minute or two, he might have finished him. But
he didn't look comfortable in that first round. Charles was coming forward with his cross hand, which is, his southpaw, so it would have been his left cross. and was trying to find home for it quite early. And Washington just looked a little bit shy in that first round. Looked like he's just started a little bit slow. Yeah, it wasn't like loads going on in the round. I think that little feeling out was going on, maybe.
Yeah, a lot of the kind of pushing forward was coming from Charles Martin more than Washington. Washington seemed quite comfortable, or not comfortable, but quite happy to kind of sit back and absorb or try to absorb the pressure. Not a great deal went on before the 6th round. It wasn't very exciting, and on paper it was. A lot of people had thought this might be the kind of fight that we'd get, but obviously you always hope, especially with heavyweights, that you're going to get like an exciting slugfest. That's the dream, isn't it? I suppose always with heavyweight boxing. Martin landed a couple of nice shots. He landed a nice left hook which caught Washington's chin in the 6th round, which sent him to the canvas. He got back up, didn't look like he recovered at all. The referee was having none of it, and he stopped it straight away. And I think that was the right call, because he didn't, even though he got to his feet, he didn't look with it at all.
No, I agree with
and
that.
when if you compare it to when Fury got knocked down in the first Wilder fight, and everyone thought, oh my God, he's out because of the way he went down. Whereas he got up at like 4, and he straight away was with it as soon as he was back on his feet, and he was ready to go. Charles Martin just looked disorientated, and I think the referee made the right call. I think Mr. Martin will have to wait a very long time before he even gets a sniff at this IBF title, which is obviously currently held by Anthony Joshua. Pulev is the current mandatory challenger for the IBF title, and so the IBF is unlikely to force Joshua to fight Martin anytime until 2021. And obviously I would imagine, going by what we're going to discuss in a minute, maybe there'll be other plans for Joshua, or at least I hope there is. So that's 2 fights really for Joshua before he can even think about Charles Martin. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
I mean, Charles could only do what he had, deal with what he had in front of him at the end of the day. Washington did look, I thought he was going to come alive in the round 2, actually, Washington, because he started looking like he was trying to mean it with some of his punches, but then slipped back into the habit of the first round, didn't he? So Charles just did what he did. Did what all he could do, but it wasn't a massively impressive showing. But what can you say?
The thing is, it's the same as any sport, I suppose, and you can only beat what's in front of you. You can only, whether it's a team sport or an individual sport, or fighting or football or rugby, you can only beat what's in front of you. And if the opponent is playing a certain way, whether it's negative, you can't do anything about it. And it was a good knockout, good finish. He caught him with a really nice punch, and it was game over. Okay, so then you had the main event, the one which I guess everyone was waiting for. Did you stay up to watch it?
No, I didn't. I did all the watching today.
Me neither.
I knew I had a real busy day today. I had some students competing in a grappling event, quite reasonably local, but nevertheless, that was going to eat into a portion of the day. And so I just thought I'd, get up early, start early, and start chipping away at all these fights that me and you had to cover, which was a bit of an issue because on some of the sites that I sort of tried and tested over the years, didn't cover all the fights, so I had to get them from numerous sources. And of course, me and you were messaging backwards and forwards to try and get me to locate some of these stray fights, but we got there through most of them, I think.
Yeah, the main ones we were able to I got up and watched the Tyson Fury fight straight away. Really frustratedly, I avoided the result. I turned off notifications on my phone, and kind of I didn't know who had won. I was ready. I was going to just watch it with my coffee, and then just before I put it on, our habit kind of flicked on Instagram, and the very first picture was Tyson Fury holding the title, and I was like, oh well.
I managed to stay away from the result completely. So I was really enjoying every moment of watching it, to be fair, because I just didn't know what the end result was.
Yeah, well, you get the entrances as you do these days with all the pomp and circumstance,
Yeah,
and like Fury just looked calm and confident even before
yeah,
the
he
fight.
did.
He just looked so relaxed, and it was
Hmm.
interesting. One of the comments he made after the fight was that I took Deontay Wilder's biggest shot in the 12th round of the last fight, and I
Yeah.
got up, and he said he had like a bit of an epiphany then that I took his biggest shot, and I got
Mm.
up. There's nothing that he can do now which is going to stop me. And of
Right.
course, all the pundits beforehand were saying, oh, it's either going to be a Wilder KO or Fury's going to outbox him over the 12 rounds.
Yeah.
We did not get that.
Mm.
So, first round, Wilder opened up with a couple of jabs, but it was not long before Fury was uh, pushing him right back. Caught him with a couple of jabs and a punch, but Fury was pushing forward, and from that very first round, he was using his size and his weight advantage really, really well.
Yeah.
He was just leaning on him, and he was hitting him with some big shots. You could see, obviously the crowd is all pro Fury as it is, and the crowd is
Mm.
getting riled, and sometimes that can be like it can feel like shots are maybe causing more damage than what they are because the crowd
Mm.
starts getting up. But first round, I think Fury was much more active, much more effective, but there was
Yeah.
nothing too heavy, nothing too sort of devastating or anything like that.
Yeah.
Fury,
No, there's nothing.
why?
But they both come to meet though. They both were, looking for their cross hands after feeling up with a few jabs. But I just get the sense that Fury is wanting to go to work very early. It's like he knew he was fit. Um,
Mm,
yeah, he had his foot down, was pressing a pretty good pace from the get go.
yeah, he was quick, wasn't he? And I got to say, like Wilder just didn't. I don't know whether it was his timing, but then often with Wilder fights, his timing can be off for the first few rounds. He
Yeah.
can often take a lot of damage. He can lose the early rounds, and then
Mm.
he'll win in like a seventh or eighth round with a knockout. That's not
Yeah.
uncommon for a Deontay Wilder fight.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, in a minute we'll discuss now how this fight differed from all his other fights in terms of
Hmm.
what went on next. The second round, again, Fury's pushing forward. He's trying to really put the pressure on Wilder from the get go. Um, Wilder started to string a couple of consecutive jabs, which sort of caught Fury in the face. But again, it wasn't long before Fury was then pushing forward with his own jab, and
Yeah.
he caught I think it was. I can't remember if it was the second round or the third. I think it was the second round where, prior to when he knocks him down, he caught him with I think it was a right uppercut, and he really caught him flush on the chin, and
Mm.
you could see. Wilder, he didn't, like stagger really drastically or anything like that, but you could see it rocked him. And I
Yeah.
felt,
Yeah.
from my point of view, that after that uppercut, Wilder didn't look the same. It was as if he had, because I know after the first fight, he said, uh, Fury's punches were like pillows. And it was almost
Mm.
as if that uppercut, he suddenly thought, oh, hang on, there's a bit of power here, which,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. Fury's not far off 7 foot tall. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the round ends with sort of Wilder trying to still look for that big shot, and Fury
Mm.
throws a nice couple of punches. Um, I had Fury comfortably winning both rounds, 10-9.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. The same.
and then the
Yeah.
third, gone.
Yeah, yeah. I was just going to say, yeah, I think a defining difference, in terms of both in contrast was that I noticed Fury was using a lot more feints with his head, dipping in. He just looked like not only was he active with his footwork, he was feinting with his hands, he's feinting with his head movement to make him elusive to those big bombs that we know Wilder can throw. And if you have a look at what Wilder was doing, he was leaning back out of his shots. Well, the problem with leaning is not only does it make your weight distribution not good, you go into negative footwork, you start leaning, pedaling backwards. If you lean back, if you don't pedal backwards, if you lean, you've got to come back again. So you're going to start falling onto that double jab, triple jab, right cross that there follows afterwards. But I was just really curious to know why Wilder was leaning as much as he did. It's like, he was a little bit punch shy.
Yeah, it's a common theme as well. As the fight progressed, he did it more and more.
More and more, absolutely, yeah.
And after he got that big shot a bit later in the fight, which damaged his eardrum by the looks of it.
He's bleeding from the ear, I noticed.
He was using the ropes to stay up, I thought. We'll talk about that now. So round 3, Fury came out. I think this is where he catches that big uppercut I was referring to.
Yeah, that's right.
He lands the big right uppercut. Wilder's knocked off balance completely. He doesn't go down, but you could see the kind of shock, if you like, that he felt it. And straight away, Wilder instigated a clinch, and they kind of traded some punches on the inside. Straight from the clinch, then the ref breaks him up. Fury nails a couple of short lefts, followed by a right, and then connects with another quick combination upstairs, and then Fury drops Wilder late in the round, and Wilder struggled to survive the end of the third round because when he hit that combination, I think it was a right hook to Wilder's left ear. Straight away, you could see the wince on his face in the replay. His equilibrium was all over the shop. Straight from that right hook to the back. It was like caught him just above the ear.
That's right. Yeah, and, right around by the ear.
He was bleeding quite heavily from the ear, which I'm told by someone who would know, who's medical knowledge, that's almost definitely a perforated eardrum.
I've had that numerous times, and that's not nice. It's not a nice feeling at all.
The person I spoke to earlier said that there's a very good chance that Wilder won't be able to fight again at the very, very top level because of it. Like, obviously, I'm not a doctor, so I have no idea. But he said just because it's an injury which is likely to be aggravated so easily just from not even a hard shot, that it could cause him real problems. Which would be that would be a real shame if that was the case. But obviously, I don't want to speculate about things like that.
I've not heard, fighting careers end over a perforated eardrum personally. I've had it a couple of times in my career, and it was actually training in boxing gloves that caused it. We was doing MMA, but in boxing gloves, and the sweat got all over the gloves. And then when I got cuffed around the ear, it created that seal as it hit into me. So I know all about what that feels like, and it's not a nice feeling. It's extremely painful. And if that was the case for Wilder, no wonder why he was off after that. It's not a nice, thing.
I suppose it's not just the pain, and obviously the flow of blood was relatively heavy, but also his balance and equilibrium just wasn't the same. And I do think that shot at the end of the second, start of the third, that uppercut did contribute to that, because I felt like that rocked him. But the shot behind the ear is a nasty shot to take. Know more than me, but it's a nasty one, because it does throw you off. It makes you disorientated. And of course, because that was the end of the round with Wilder almost clinging on, really.
It looked like Wilder was thinking it was an MMA match. I thought I was seeing a double leg at one point.
Yeah. Just towards the end of that third round, where he clinched and his head went really low. I thought, here he goes.
He looked very staggery. He was starting to look tired already as well. Whether that's a case of the damage that he took, whether it's bad preparation, which you wouldn't think so at this level of boxing, but he was starting to look tired, and it just got more and more apparent as those rounds ticked by.
The thing I would say is, surely Deontay Wilder must have prepared so well for this fight, simply because the first fight he lost. Everybody knows he lost, but because boxing is what it is, it was declared a draw. He was outboxed by Fury in the first fight comfortably. Obviously, he had the big knockdown in the final round, which is obviously the visual which people see. But he was outboxed.
Yeah.
And so if he came into this fight thinking, unprepared, then that's wholly unprofessional, and that's down, that's on
Yeah.
him and his coaches. And I'm not saying that is the case. I think he was surprised by the power of from Fury, because I think after that first fight, he said himself that he didn't think Fury had the power to take him down. But of course, Fury came in heavier.
Fury even heavier than this time around as well?
Oh
Wasn't
yeah,
he?
yeah, a lot heavier. It's the heaviest he's ever been going into a fight.
So that will
He
contribute.
changed his coach as well.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, no, he looked good. I just think going into a second fight with each other, Wilder stylistically is more limited. He relies on his power. He relies on having someone allow him that space so he can come in with those 1-2s. So he was just always going to do the same thing. Where because we know Wilder is a more proficient style boxer, he was able to switch up how he wants to go about dismantling Wilder, and Wilder can only hope for the same thing, to let his power show through. He's not someone who wants to win on points. He's not someone who's looking to go to 12 rounds. He's expecting to put you away with such a 95% success rate of putting the fight to bed. I mean,
do you know what's interesting about that, mate? Is Deontay Wilder is an Olympic, but he boxed at the Olympics, so you'd think that he would be as good as Fury in terms of technical boxing and boxing for rounds and points, but he's not. He's all about the power. He's all about the knockdowns. And Tyson Fury always had in his back pocket that if his initial plan for those first 5 rounds of using his size and his power didn't work, and he didn't get the result he did, he could have fallen behind his jab and just technically outboxed Wilder and won on points. Whereas Wilder didn't have that, and because his timing was so off early on, which is not unusual, like I said, for Deontay Wilder. The problem is his timing was off as usual. But then in the meantime, we're in the rounds where he normally starts to find his range. He got caught with a big shot, and then his balance and his equilibrium was gone, and he just couldn't recover. So going into round 4, both men kind of clinched to open up the round, and to me, this 4th round was where I started to worry for Wilder, because he was looking for the clinch at every opportunity. He was starting only a little bit at this point, but he was taking himself to the corner and against the ropes almost as much as Fury was, pushing forward to push him onto the ropes. Not so much as he does in sort of round 5, 6, 7, but it was just the start of that not backing away, but just I think his balance was off, and I just don't think he was steady. Wilder throws a wild punch early on in that round 4, and he stumbles. It's not a knockdown, rightly so. Fury connected with a big body punch, and again Wilder was just, you could tell he wasn't 100%. He was still feeling the knockdown from the previous round. Fury was very aggressive towards the end of the second part of the round. He tries to look for the big shot, and I actually thought that Fury looked more effective when he wasn't looking for that single big shot. I thought he looked more effective when he was nailing like a 1-2 different combinations. I felt like he was landing more like that than when he was looking for that one big kind of knockout blow.
Sure. Yeah. I think he did a good job as well. I think when they was getting into his clinches, he was always managing to stuff Wilder's head down, which is just tiring. And he was just draining any potential for Wilder to have hopes on that knockout. I mean, you can have a hard punch, but you've got to have energy to have a hard punch. And I think every time they clinched up, Tyson was stuffing his head down almost like a guillotine style position. And it was just leaning on him, making his size count. And you just saw more of the legs get taken out from Wilder. I think it's just a really good strategy, really good game plan, really good knowing of where the fight was at any given time, which is why I think you saw this clinch being accepted more by Tyson. Wilder needs space to get those dynamite hands accelerating, to get some pace on them to land. And Fury was just on him. He was just on him. He was leaning in, pulling his head down all the time. It's a little bit dirty, but it's really effective and it's part of the game.
Yeah, Fury gets
Yeah, and
stopped point in the fifth
yeah,
round, didn't he?
yeah, he did. Yeah,
Down. I was just going to ask you that actually. I saw Enzo Maccarelli saying this morning that Tyson Fury used his weight and size advantage really, really
yeah,
well. Not just
yeah,
in a power point of view, in terms of his punching, but the way he was leaning on Wilder in the clinch, and
yeah,
like you say, pushing his head down and just
yeah.
making sure that because he had the height advantage, he was putting all his weight
Yes, exactly.
onto Wilder every time. And you see it
Yeah,
a lot in MMA with grapplers, don't you? And when they
yeah,
get the top position, they make you carry them, for the whole round if they can,
yeah,
just with your body weight. Um, the fourth round finishes with Wilder's being pressed against the ropes and he gets tagged with another right hand from Fury, much of the same.
mm,
Fury 10-9 again.
yeah,
I had the third round with the knockdown as 10-8.
yeah.
But, all
Same.
4 rounds to Fury
Yeah,
comfortably as well. I thought, there was
yeah,
not
yeah,
one round where I thought Wilder came close to really
yeah.
getting around at all. The
Agreed.
fifth round I thought would have been a 10-8, but for the docked point. Um,
Yeah,
so the fifth round starts. Fury lands a big shot straight away to open up the round, which lifts the crowd. And
mm,
Wilder straight after this big shot, looking for the clinch. Fury's pushing down. He's got all his weight on Wilder. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because Wilder's looking for the clinch. And you'd
yeah,
think in the circumstances, Fury wouldn't want the clinch because he wants to finish the fight. So
yeah, yeah,
some fighters would get frustrated because they'd want to, they want to finish it, and Wilder's clinging on. But actually,
yeah,
Fury used it to his advantage and just leant on him and used his weight. Um,
yeah.
During the clinch, Fury drops Wilder again. Um, I'm not sure if that one was called as a knockdown though. But he
I think
gets,
one of them, one of them was a trip because I think they got their
he
legs
kind of tripped
tangled a
over
little
his
bit.
leg, didn't he? Yeah.
Mm.
Uh,
But I think he
Fury,
knocked him
go
down
on.
with a body shot, wasn't it? Was it not a body shot where he got knocked down?
That's the one I was just talking.
Yeah,
I think that's the one I'm
yeah,
referring to. There, obviously, I'm going through my notes, but yeah, he kind of hit him with a big body shot, and
mm,
he just went down. It was never going to be like a fight ender, but just a nasty. We talked about body shots on last
yeah,
week's
yeah,
show,
yeah,
I think, on it, and how nasty they can be. And if you think how tired Wilder is, he's got blood coming out of his ear, blood coming out of his nose and mouth, and he's exhausted. He's been battered all over the place, and then he gets
yeah,
a big shot to the ribs.
yeah,
That's like the last thing you want. I mean,
yeah,
in some ways, I'm sure he would have rather have like a jab in the face than a big
yeah, yeah,
shot
yeah.
to the
But
ribs.
I'll put this down to just clever and skill on Fury's part. He knew that he knew that Wilder's corner will be calling for the knockout. Hey, you got to like put everything into a couple of rounds to
Yeah,
try and put this guy away. And so he's just started going to the body as well. He just gives so many things for Wilder to think about, and all those extra things he had to think about were taking away any effective energy to throw those hard hands that we know Wilder's got. So he was aiming for the body, he was clinching and leaning all over him. It was just a great strategy to take the sting out of the tail of Wilder.
so like in the fifth round, you see Fury go more for kind of rather than big shots, he's going for bigger body shots. He's going for the
Yeah,
jab. Is that purely just to wear him down and take away his power by just exhausting him rather
yeah,
than
yeah.
finishing the fight?
Yep, that's it. I just feel like he was like he's just being very predatorial in a way where he weren't going to risk getting himself hurt. He was just going to keep chipping away, wearing out the prey until it was time to go for the kill. That's just
Yeah,
what it felt like. And normally you feel like the Wilder's the prey,
yeah.
the
Oh yeah,
predator, don't you? Because
yeah.
he's hoping on those hands landing, but every second that was clicking away of every round, I just felt like the chances of Wilder coming back from this was a slipping away. I think even if he landed something clean at this point,
He
it had
wasn't going
already
to have
gone.
enough energy to
Yeah, there
really
was not
push
going to
it
be enough
through.
on it. Absolutely, yeah,
So funny enough,
yeah,
it's funny you should say that because in my last notes for the fifth round, I've got Fury's continuing to attack. Wilder's in rough and then I put a swear word shape. And then I said Wilder hasn't landed a single punch in this round, and he is literally hanging on for dear life. And
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is with Fury being docked for a point for pushing Wilder.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, 9-8 that round because of the
yeah,
dock point. But I felt now this next round, round 6, I thought this is when either the referee or the Wilder's team should have stepped in. I
yeah,
know I give him credit for when throwing the towel in round 7, but there was a point in round 6 towards the end where I was starting to feel a bit uncomfortable about this
yeah.
guy being beaten around the head by a 6'8" behemoth, very skilled fighter, and he was just taking headshot after headshot, and he just wasn't defending it.
No,
And
yeah, he
so I
wasn't
could think,
responding. Yeah, he wasn't responding. He was becoming a punch bag, and it looked like he was just trying to get through the rounds. It wasn't even like it looked like he was making scope to get through the whole fight. It looked like he was just taking round by round, but surviving them really. That last couple of rounds we see,
well, the
and
thing is that,
yeah, I had
go on.
very similar thoughts to yourself. Really, the demeanor, the body language that you were getting from Wilder was that practically had enough. It wasn't like he was looking to win the fight anymore. Like I say, just trying to get through it.
Yeah, he didn't want to give up and stop. He obviously wasn't looking to win at this point.
Yeah,
Like the one thing I would say as well about that is like, because I know some people, particularly fighters, will say, "Oh no, you've got to give him every chance. You've got to let him go out on his shield and all the things which these brave fighters do and say." But my point is, um, even if you're someone my size and you're taking repeated head punches and kicks, whatever it is, whatever sport, but if you're taking repeated head shots and you're not defending yourself, in what we know about CTEs and the tragedies which have happened in combat sports over the years. Now, even if that's someone my size, 5'6", whatever, that's that can be dangerous. As
yeah,
all fighting is dangerous, but for someone who's 6'8" and weighs as much as Tyson Fury, is as skilled as Tyson Fury, is as powerful as Tyson Fury, if you're taking repeated headshots and you're just very, very weakly, there was points in that 6th round where he didn't even have his gloves high up.
yeah,
They were like down here, so every shot was getting through. Right, I'll quickly take us through the round. Round 6 is Fury lands with multiple big body shots straight away, and you see, I don't know whether that took, a lot out of Wilder in that initial start to the round, or whether he was just, exhausted already, but they certainly didn't help. And Fury, by this point, is, he's really pushing forward. But this is the point where I referred to earlier, where Wilder was looking for the ropes, looking for the
yeah,
corner himself, because his balance was so off. He's Fury's pressuring him against the ropes. Wilder's bleeding from the ear, the mouth, the nose,
yeah,
and his ear was quite heavily as well. Tyson Fury's got blood all over his chest because of the amount of blood coming from Wilder. He actually tries to lick the blood on
yeah. That's
Wilder's
right.
neck at one point,
I
which he
know.
said he wants to taste his blood before the
Yeah,
fight, but it's a bit of a
he did
weird
it.
way to finish the round. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it wasn't quite what happened with Tyson and Vander Holyfield, where he's eating ears and stuff. But
No, he wasn't. He wasn't like aggressive like that, was it? It was more of like a. It was almost. Do you know what I
a
thought?
lick, a lick
I
rather
just
than a bite.
Yeah, it was almost as if he was like feeling a bit playful as Tyson Fury is, but he was almost like he remembered. Oh, I said I'm going to taste his blood,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Yeah, it was.
shows how
And
confident he was that he was gonna, he was running away with the fight because
yeah,
he's obviously he was thinking of other things.
yeah,
Yeah. So round 6, 10-9 again. I think
yeah,
I nearly had this
absolutely.
10-8. I could have been
Yeah,
10-8
could
really.
yeah, could argue the case for that.
And the thing is, from the second round onwards, middle of the second round onwards, Wilder barely landed a punch.
No,
Which, when you compare the level, when you think of the level of boxing that this is, it's the very, very tip top.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the damage that Deontay Wilder has left in his wake over the, you know, was undefeated. So for Tyson Fury, I think, well, I'll ask you this question now in a minute because because it kind of falls in with this, but I'll take us through the final round 7. Wilder's pacing himself, moving backwards, but he's not putting his hands up. He's not moving. You know, he's not moving on his feet. He's not dodging punches. He's not swaying. He's not trying to get out of the way. He's not making himself a moving target. He hasn't got his hands up. So to me, straight away in that start to round 7, again, just like round 6, I'm thinking, come on, referee or his team, someone's got to step in before something, you know, you don't want something tragic to happen because that would mar everything. You don't want people to get seriously hurt. And he wasn't defending himself. I got no problem giving exhausted fighters a chance, particularly in boxing, to get a second wind.
Yeah.
But like round 6 and 7, Wilder wasn't defending headshots, big headshots, big body shots. And I think that's the kind of problem for me between an exhausted fighter maybe taking a couple of shots here and there that he wouldn't normally to maybe should we be stopping this?
Yeah.
I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, pretty much the same, really. I think it could have been stopped possibly, you know, in round 6 at times by the referee. I think the referee was looking closer and closer and closer. If you saw a couple of times in that 7th round when the ref was pulling them apart, he was really looking in the eyes of Wilder.
Yeah,
and I think he could see that this is not going to go any other way than being a beating. And you know, more than ever before, we're trying to protect these combat, you know, sportsmen, and absolutely rightly so. You know, we do hear about and see too often about problems neurologically because of the result of impacts, even with football players now headering footballs. So yeah, you've got to have, you know, a percentage of, you know, protection for the fighters. I think we had seen the best the fight was going to give in terms of them both being competitive. It was getting to a point where it just was not competitive. It was a one-way, an absolutely good stoppage.
Yeah. So, like I say, he wasn't putting his hands up. He wasn't defending himself. Fury continues to put the pressure on the champion. Wilder has no answer. Wilder is yet to really even get his one hand up. Fury pressures him into the corner. He's throwing a big flurry of punches, and then the Deontay Wilder's team throws the towel in. Obviously looking out for that fighter. Wilder looked a bit bemused, a bit miffed, which you know, he's a fighter. He wants to go out on his shield, as he said. But ultimately, you know, as you know, as a coach and as a team, first and foremost, is about protecting the fighter sometimes from themselves. And in terms of in terms of his life overall and his later life, I think it was absolutely right that they threw the towel in.
That was all good.
And Fury, new WBC heavyweight champion of the world, and pretty much about as impressive as it could have been.
Yeah. I mean, it was more dominant than I thought it was going to be. I thought there would be some times where, you know, we'd see Wilder connect and maybe look a little more dangerous than he did. But Tyson Fury, you just got to hand it to him. He boxed extremely well and adapted as the rounds went by to make Wilder continue to be ineffective. Fair play to the man. He's doing a good job. Doing a good job in there.
Well, when you consider 2 years ago, Tyson Fury, I think someone said he was nearly between 8 and 10 stone heavier than what he was last night. He was on the brink of suicide. He had a drugs habit. He'd gone completely off the rails after his victories. To come back not just come back and be a heavyweight champion, but to come back in the first bout, outbox Wilder, and then this time completely, let's be real. He completely decimated Deontay Wilder last night. Really conclusive, barring knocking him clean out unconscious, he couldn't have done any more. And that's not, Deontay Wilder's no mug. He's unbeaten. He's KO'd everybody in his path. He fought at the Olympics. He's very few people to knock Tyson Fury down. And that cut, which obviously everyone had speculated about Tyson Fury, whether he'd be able, if Deontay Wilder could get at that cut, then it might get stopped because it was such a big cut. But no, not to be. Like I say, I feel like that nasty uppercut at the start of round 3 prior to the knockdown. I feel like that did. I think psychologically, I think that affected Deontay Wilder before, obviously, the physical effects of the hook and the bleeding ear and stuff affected the equilibrium. But yeah, kudos to Deontay Wilder's corner for watching their fighter. Kudos to Tyson Fury as well. The first thing he said after the fight it wasn't a celebration of the king is back and this and that and the other. The first things he said was about Deontay Wilder, what a warrior he is, etc., etc. And then he says all those things, but he's all about respect.
He's a good man. Yeah, he's a good man.
And people forget this. Like, I know Joshua beat Klitschko, but Joshua beat Klitschko when he was on his way out and he was past his best. Tyson Fury beat Klitschko at the absolute peak of his abilities. So before he had his issues away from the ring, Tyson Fury was the kind of the king of the heavyweight division. So to go around and do that a second time it's impressive.
Absolutely.
A lot of fighters don't do it once, but to do it twice, and now this heavyweight division is a very, very interesting playpen at the moment. I would say. There's some very big fights to talk about. But I'm gonna, rather than getting you to maybe speculate on where we can go next with the heavyweight division, I'm going to leave that till a bit later because we've had a couple of questions about it. So we'll do those at the end. So I was going to move on to UFC Auckland. What I'm going to do, rather than switch back and forth, I'm just going to briefly talk about Cody Davis. Obviously, Cody Davis, prior to last night, was 10-0 Welsh boxer, fought Omar Sadiq in a title eliminator on BT Sport Fight Night. Cody, is very well known that he's expected to be a world champion one day. Exceptionally gifted fighter. He's fought at the Commonwealth Games for Wales. He's very talented. So he's dropped down to super middleweight. He came out flying. First couple of rounds looked really good. From about the 5th round onwards, he seemed to just have no gas left in the tank. I thought that, although the 8th round, I think it was, he suddenly had like a second wind, and he looked for the first part of the 8th round like he might finish it. But to be fair to Sadiq, he showed some guts to hang in there. It went to points, and they gave it to Sadiq marginally. I had it, and I saw a lot of pundits and the commentators had it as a draw, but it was a London boy in Bethnal Green. I didn't expect it to be given as a draw. I got to be honest, but equally, it was such a close fight that you couldn't. It wasn't one of those where you're like, "Oh my god, he's been robbed." It was more of I'm really disappointed for him because I feel like he did enough. At the very least, it was a draw. And he could have perhaps sneaked it. But look, like Cody's come out this morning and said that he thinks maybe, even though he made the weight easily, in terms of how much it took out of him in the weight cut, going down to super middleweight, he said it took it out of him too much in the fight. Now I know you haven't seen this fight, but what I wanted to kind of ask you about is, so when I spoke to Cody last week, last Friday I spoke to him, not this Friday gone, but Friday got before. He was on course to be, hit the weight.
Yeah.
He was no problems. He looks in phenomenal shape.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I'd say is he looks in unbelievable shape, from a muscular point of view. He's jacked, but I just think he looks a bit small for his big frame, if that makes sense
Right.
to you.
Okay.
So like he looks like jacked, but his height and his frame just look bigger than what his physique was perhaps showing. So he said straight away that he thinks that he needs to be at a lightweight, and maybe super middleweight is a
Right.
step too far. If
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you could sort of tell us why, like for someone who's made the weight easily, why that's caused him a problem within the fight, the next day or a day.
Yeah. Well, we all respond to weight cut differently. For some people, they can not only weight cut a lot and seem to do it easily, they can perform really well on it. But for some people, they might seem to have what seems to be an easy weight cut. They get to it easy, but on the day of the fight, they're lacking something. And then you can have the unfortunate ones where they find it hard for their weight cut and they perform bad as well.
Mm-hmm.
Weight cutting, we all respond differently. The ones that seem to do better out of the Americans because they do it from their high school years, with their wrestling and
wrestling and things.
Because there is a little bit of it's like preparing your body. So once you've been doing weight cut for a good number of years, your body gets accustomed to it. You learn about your own body, etc. But I do think that the trend to try and be as big as you can, by weight cutting as much as you can to get as into the division light as you can. I think that's a trend that's beginning to diminish, and one really that the commissions, in terms of MMA anyway, are putting close to by doing weight checks leading up to the fight.
All right,
which
so
I think
not when. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So with a weight check, do you mean they're checking before they're in camp and stuff like that? Even before that, it's like a general.
Well,
weight
they're asking
walking
for
around.
the doctors to weigh them in during camp, to make sure when you're out of camp you can do what you want, but as soon as you're in training camp, when you're a certain number of weeks out, they want to get a checkup on what your weight is, and it's all to protect you. And I'm absolutely all for it. I think that's a good thing. And then likewise, if you do start, cutting a lot of weight for the weigh-in, and then you put on too much, there's now rules to how much you can put on, to stop these people striving to do these extreme weight cuts to try to get some kind of size advantage. But along with trying to get size advantage comes a deficit of energy, and like I say, everyone responds differently to that. As much as you can feel like, oh well, that weight cut felt easy, your body will tell you that on the day of the fight. You might feel okay, but once you start exerting yourself and you start hitting that wall a little earlier than you normally would, that's when you know that the weight cut actually wasn't that easy for you.
Yeah.
I just think we're all different with that.
Yeah, so like with Cody's case, like the first few rounds, he looked sharp and he looked quick, and he did put he put a lot into it. And then around about round 5, he just looked really tired, and I at the time, in that sort of 5th and 6th round, I wondered whether it was just because he'd put so much into the early rounds, but he never really got a second wind, apart from briefly in the 8th round. And obviously, then he came out himself and said that he's going to probably go back up to light heavyweight.
Sure.
So look, from an ability and a talent point of view, Cody Davis is a future world champion. Obviously, this is a new set of problems for him. It's something he's not experienced before. He's never lost, so psychologically, he's got to conquer that. He's got a great team around him, a great coach, former world champion in himself, in Gavin Reese. So it'll be interesting, to see how he responds, because I think, if he'd won that last night, it was a title shot. So, that's another psychological aspect to it, isn't it? Is that, I was so close, I would have had a title shot, and now I've lost my unbeaten. It's small margins. And in the fight game, I know Omar Sadiq felt a bit disrespected by the bookies that they had Cody such a high favorite that he felt a bit, as if, well, hang on a minute, I'm a good fighter as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there we go. I think, look, I don't want to kind of be disrespectful to anyone, but I felt like watching that fight that Cody wasn't up to his usual standard, whether it was down to the weight or whatever it may be. And I felt like if he was at his tip-top condition and performance, that he would take, Umar Sadiq apart technically.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to be on the night. And I could see the way it was scored and things. I could see them giving it to Cody. I could see them giving it to Sadiq. And I could have seen a draw. That's how close it was.
Right.
It is what it is. It's a fight. Cody has to reevaluate.
Yeah, Cody's still, if he's only had 10, 11 fights now, it's still...
He's still young.
It's still in the early stages of his career, to be fair. I'm sure he bounced back for it. And so he tried it at a lighter weight, didn't work out. He can just go back up to his normal weight and try and continue to be effective there, which I think is a good call.
Indeed. Okay, so let's move on to MMA.
Yes.
And let's go with, what should we start with? Let's do the UFC card first, and then we'll touch on Bellator before we finish.
Sure.
I really, really enjoyed this UFC card, I've got to say. Like on paper, I was looking forward to the main event. I wasn't that familiar with some of the fighters on the lower undercard. But I got to say, from top to bottom, I thought it was fantastic card to watch. First fight was very, very good. Brad Riddell versus Magomed Mustafayev.
This was a good fight.
It was really, really enjoyable. Bit of a contrast in styles. Both very highly thought of fighters as well by the UFC. I know Mustafayev is one of their kind of, I don't want to say pet projects because that sounds a bit as if he's kind of there when he doesn't deserve it. He absolutely deserves it, but he's one of the guys which they think very highly of.
They do.
Like your Jack Shaws and your the other guy, which I can't pronounce his name, with the big hair, from the same part of the country of Dagestan. There's a couple of Dagestani fighters who were, they've got big high hopes for. So round one begins with Mustafayev attacking Riddell with a high kick. Mustafayev nails a swinging Riddell with a kick to the midsection straight off. So you could see straight away he had the range down with his kicking from the off. Riddell drops him with a right hook, which
very early. Stunned him, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it did, because you had he had the two sort of kicks, the one high kick, or the two high kicks, and then the kick to the midsection, and straight away you thought, oh hello, he's got his range. And then Riddell just surprised him with the right hook, and he pounced on him with some more strikes, and he gets the top control on the ground. Mustafayev rolls over straight away for the heel hook. Riddell escapes and they get back to their feet. It was a good little exchange to start the fight, with some strikes and then little grappling exchange.
Fast, fast start to an MMA battle. Not much of a feeling out process. When that looked right cross landed, I thought, well, crikey, it's just going to be a start of an early finish, which is really would be shocking with these Kyrgyzstan guys. They're so good, aren't they? And so rowdy. You wouldn't expect them to be put away early. And but like you say, I had a little bit of a top position, but went for a leg lock very quickly and was going for a heel hook, which as we know as well, can put a bout away quite early. So it's all systems and all actions go. But I do feel like their wrestling advantage was always in the Kyrgyzstans, corner. That's what they do. That's where they're the most proficient. They look easy, look comfortable, and they look strong there. And he looked like he was manhandling him somewhat in that position. He was on his back, but just couldn't seem to get it to the floor and keep it to the floor. As much as he was having his way positionally, he wasn't being able to be proactive with it in terms of being able to do any damage, because he had to clasp his hands together to keep control. Of course, if you clasp your hands together, you're limited with just kneeing. But if you're on your back, you're kneeing the legs, and that's about it. It looked like if he was going to unleash any kind of meaningful ground and pound, he was going to lose control. And that makes it a real hard round to score. I mean, how'd you score that? I mean, you had a knockdown in the round.
I had it 10-9 to
Right.
Mustafayev, simply because he had a couple of early strikes, which I thought, and then obviously when they were on the ground, I felt like he did a bit more, and he reversed something somewhere along the lines, and I felt like he just did that only a little bit more, but just a bit more overall in terms of his grappling on the ground and his striking.
I would agree.
It was interesting though, because the first couple of seconds you had Mustafayev looking for the kicks, then you had Rydell dropped in with a strike, and then it looked like Rydell wanted it on the ground, but then straight away you saw that Mustafayev was absolutely comfortable on that ground, as all these Dagestani, they're phenomenal wrestlers. And it finishes that round with Mustafayev nails Rydell with some knee strikes to the midsection. Rydell spins Mustafayev into the cage wall before the round ends. But then, and that's the thing, like, there was, I gave it to Mustafayev, but there was certain aspects of it where I think maybe Rydell could have taken it as well. He knocked him, he got him down, he briefly had the top position, threw him against the cage. There was, he also scored a takedown during the fight. So, like, when I read my notes back, I think, and I start remembering it, and I think, well, actually, maybe Rydell did take it.
It's hard to know, but
I gave it to Mustafayev.
Yeah, I gave it the same. Quite simply because Rydell had that one success, and that was all it is. I mean, can you really win a round just by being effective with one crosshand?
Yeah.
But fair play to Rydell landing it. So early on. Not only is it a crosshand, it's a crosshand where they've got opposite stances. So he's got to really feel comfortable with his range, and we know he's a proficient striker anyway. But an interesting round. But I'd call it the same like you did. But as we go into that second round, I think we start seeing Rydell look even more comfortable and start feeling like, hey, this guy's truly beatable. And started landing in those calf kicks and started being effective with them, didn't he?
Yeah, I felt like like you said, I think the second round Rydell settled a little bit. He begins straight away with some nice right hook and some leg kicks, which he charges him then, and he lands a good punch combination. Mustafayev fires back with some leg kicks of his own. Mustafayev responded with a couple of 2-punch combinations. Rydell, he kind of comes forward. He nails Mustafayev with his own combination. Mustafayev nails Rydell with some kicks to the midsection. It was very back and forth. Mustafayev got a takedown, but then Rydell was able to get back up fairly quickly. And then he finished the round with another takedown, and Rydell got up again. I had this one 10-9 to Rydell. Where did you have this one?
I had the same. I felt like Rydell was really taking charge in this round. He was looking effective with his strikes. Mustafayev looked like he was looking a little bit more vulnerable. He shot in and got sprawled on as well. Him trying to make a clinch affair of it fouled and left him looking short. So absolutely, I think Rydell got it one apiece going into the third round.
Yeah, and a couple of those early strikes he managed to hit quite cleanly as well.
Yeah.
So they went into the third round, 1 round apiece on our scorecards at least. The round began with Rydell. He attempted a high kick. Mustafayev falls during a spinning kick attempt, and Rydell nails him with a few strikes as he's on his way back up. Mustafayev and Rydell exchange some kicks to the midsection of the body. Mustafayev nailed Rydell with a nice knee strike before eating a punch combination. Mustafayev cracked Rydell with a lovely spinning back fist, but he only managed to catch the kind of top of his head.
Yeah.
Then Rydell scored a nice takedown, landed some strikes. Mustafayev
Right.
scrambled to his feet, and Rydell kicked him in the midsection. Again,
Yeah, those
quite back
midsection
and
kicks.
forth.
Those midsection kicks as well. I think against anyone else would have been more consequential. But he took those body kicks really well. But still, nevertheless, give Mustafayev something to think about.
Do you know what? I imagine like these Dagestani fighters like Khabib and Mustafayev and the other guys, which I can't pronounce their names, them like just like doing chin-ups while being kicked in the stomach. I don't know why. I just could just imagine them doing it. Like Mustafayev goes for a takedown and Rydell defends it while landing some strikes. And then the round finishes with Mustafayev going for another takedown, but Rydell winds up in top control. And I thought Rydell did that quite a few times throughout the fight quite well, was when Mustafayev went for takedown, he either sprawled out or he ended up in top control. He defended the takedown attempts pretty well.
Yeah.
How did you have the third round scored?
Yeah, I had it for Rydell. I felt like he had a little bit of time on top as well. I just think he was just looking like the guy who had more tools. Mustafayev was just trying to do the wrestle. Was unable to appear to be able to do anything regards looking like he was going to be dangerous with the damage, which is strange because we've seen him in the past look like he could really lay out some nasty damage himself, but it just wasn't able to look that effective.
Like Rydell just all round looked like he could win it with strikes or he could win it with on the ground. There was just a bit more about him. Obviously the official decision was a split decision with one judge giving it to Mustafayev. Can you see that, like how they would have scored that?
Because of the time, because he was kind of on his back on the feet, wasn't he, in that second round? And I'm thinking maybe it's that one that they've, given, in his favour. But we're all left scratching our head a little bit with these judges. But then again, we're not judge specialists anyway by any stretch. No. But I felt like that shouldn't have been a split decision. I think it was 2 rounds to Rydell, and reasonably clear as well, I'd suggest.
Yeah, whilst it was a relatively close fight, I didn't think the rounds were close where you couldn't decide who took it. Like there's a fight later on in this card where it was so difficult to try and work out who took each round, that it was really hard. So next up we had Ben Sassoli versus Marcus Rogero de Lima. This one
the big guys.
This didn't last too long.
I don't think it was ever going to last that long, but respects to them both. And de Lima, well, it's like he trusted in his power, and he's just like kept thinking to himself, I'm going to throw everything hard as I can. I know something's going to nail him. I'm going to put this guy away. He just was doing it with confidence, which is surprising because the other chap can bang too. They just had their heads down and were swinging. It was pretty impressive. Just the confidence, the way he was going forwards in the manner that he did. It was almost like he saw the future and he knew it was the way to win, because he didn't hold back on anything. Nothing was prepped up. It was all guns ablaze.
Yeah, there was one point where neither of them was even looking at each other. They were like just like head down, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, so Soli, he did have his chin really tucked, and he always likes to land that rear hand of his, and was stepping through, willing to fight fire with fire, which made it entertaining for the small duration that it was going on. It was definitely that.
And de Lima tried to nail a couple of high kicks as well, which
he's being diverse. So Soli, he was just coming forward with his hands mainly. You could tell clearly wanting to land that left cross of his, or left hook. He kept looking to throw that over, But De Lima was being a little bit more diverse with his striking. Yeah, and it was
De
the
Lima
route to win.
Yeah, De Lima dropped Sasoli with a 3-punch combination, and the referee jumped in quickly.
Yeah, none of them super clean, but it just goes to show how much weight was on those punches. It kind of scolded him on the side of the head, rather than clean on the jaw. But they're big dudes, and they were throwing down with fresh energy and with everything that they had. Someone was gonna get put away.
Yeah, with these big boys, you don't always need that kind of clean shot to do the damage. Okay, so next up we had I'm going to call it Carolina K, because no way can I pronounce her second name, and I don't want to butcher it.
Carolina is nice and easy. Stick with that.
Yeah, Carolina K and Hyun. Oh my gosh. Jianin is a Chinese name, which I'm
Yan.
Yeah, we'll call it Carolina versus Yan. This was an enjoyable fight, though. I really quite
enjoyed it. Yan come out. Everything she threw was hard as she could. She was keying on every single punch, kick, knee. Yeah, she come out looking to be powerful, and she looked every bit of that. That Carolina was left a little bit bewildered with how to approach it, really. I think she was giving away a little bit in size, a little bit in strength, and just didn't have enough pep on her punches and kicks. And it was very, very quickly looking like, it was all for Yan to try to stop Carolina, and for Carolina to try to get through the rounds. But Carolina did show some skill on the ground, which, looked like she could find ways to win. And that really was the theme of the whole fight, really. That first round was just, Yan trying to, put the finish with any which way she could on the feet, and Carolina looking to try to do some wrestling, but against, a big, strong Yan.
Yeah,
I think Yan ended up scoring the takedowns, didn't she? She ended up scoring the takedown in the first round.
She nailed a couple of, I think it was 2 takedowns in the first, in the first round, but like you say, she was quite, to use the word you just used, she was quite diverse in the way she was trying to go about her business, whether it was with strikes or takedowns. She did her best to really try and put Carolina, who's the ranked fighter, ranked number 14. So it was kind of on. Really, it should have been on Carolina to push that fight as the ranked fighter. But Yan was all about, particularly in the first 2 rounds, and even the third round as well. She really pushed forward and wanted to make a statement, and I feel like she did. I got to say, I thought she had an impressive showing. The second round began with Yan kicking Carolina in the midsection. She charges forward. She nails her with some combinations. Yan backs up the Carolina, and she's kind of swinging a bit. Carolina does swing back and gets with a counter right. Yan backs Carolina into the cage with a series of right hands, which gave Carolina then chance. She tried to grab her to try and get her herself off the cage wall and get herself out of that kind of danger zone, if you like. Yan dragged her to the ground, but she did let her get back up. Were you surprised that she just let her back up?
I just think Yan at this point was comfortable to be anywhere with Carolina. I felt like she was just, feeling that confident. She was, wherever it goes. She didn't. It was not like in her interest to have to keep it down. She was winning when it was down. She was winning when it was clinched, and she was winning when it was striking. So I just don't think there was any urgency to have to keep it down. I think that's why you see Carolina scramble up. It wasn't because Carolina was doing anything special to get to her feet. I just don't think Yan just didn't care where it was.
Yeah, and she kind of just she let her get back up, and then straight away she hit Carolina as Carolina was trying to do like some sort of spinning attack. She got her with a counter right, and then Jan scored another takedown.
Yeah.
And she gets the north-south position.
Yeah.
Jan sort of got up, and she makes Carolina stand as well.
Yeah.
Jan was really successful with the right hands throughout this round, throughout the whole fight, really. She nailed Carolina with a nice front kick to the face, and Jan then finished the round with another combination.
Yeah.
And I actually thought this round 2 was not far off being a 10-8.
Yeah.
But
It was
I
pretty
gave it as a
dominant.
10-9 just because whilst it was dominant, I didn't feel like there was any real danger of the fight finishing, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah. 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 I would pretty much agree with that.
Like it was a very dominant round, about as dominant as you could get, but
Yeah.
there was never a point where I was like, "Oh, she's clinging on a bit." Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think if it's going to be dominant in terms of giving it a 10-8, I think there has to be elements where, there was potential
Looking to
knockout,
finish it.
or you was on the back actually with a choke sunk in or a guillotine standing, something along those lines. But there was never any visual that might have told us that the finish was pending.
No.
Although it is one-sided.
Yeah. So I had that round 10-9. The third round begins with Jan taking a few swings at Carolina.
Yeah.
She nails her with a really nice counter right hand.
Yeah.
And then she cracks her with a couple of kicks. She hits again. Carolina went for like a spinning. I think it was like a spinning back fist. And she gets caught. Jan scores a takedown again.
Yeah, she just gets the hips, doesn't she, and just literally
Yeah.
bullies her down. There was nothing pretty about it, just being the bigger, stronger girl. But then it got interesting for me, and this is why I say that we did see little fleets of Carolina looking like, well, maybe she's got an area that she could perhaps try and put it away. She started setting up leg locks, and Yan wasn't doing anything super intelligent, like she was in the know on how to get out of it best. She had that heel hook sunk in, but she unfortunately had her leg a little bit too straight. When you start setting up a heel hook in the way that Carolina was, you really want to start taking the leg over, so you're reaping on the knee, and then it exposes that heel a little bit more, and you can get more turn pressure on it. But she just had her leg a little bit too straight, and so she didn't have enough bite on that heel. It's kind of like it got me on the edge of my seat a little bit, because I was thinking, oh, bless her, she could pull up at a bit of an upset with the way the fight was going. But it's just sense that putting all that beans into trying to go for that submission, it just wasn't there for her. She was running out of ideas once she had that leg lock, and she had her best shot at that heel hook, and it just weren't happening for her. It was like, well, she kept that position, didn't she, for a little while, but have no other transitions to go to know what to do to try to finish this Yan.
Would have been really harsh if she had got that heel hook in and submitted Yan after she had dominated 3 rounds. Because she was very dominant. Just to finish off, Yan defends by attacking her with some strikes. She attacks Carolina with some ground and pound. She sweeps. Carolina sweeps Yan. She gets that top control, and then the round ends. Again, I still had it 10-9 to Yan, which made it 30-27 for me. The judges gave a 10-8. So they had it as 30-26, 30-26, 30-26.
Right. Okay.
Which was interesting because both me and you said that we thought it was not far off a 10-8, but there was no kind of fight ending or potential fight ending sequences. But all the judges gave one of the rounds as a 10-8.
And they may have done that because of the in the second round, Carolina was having trouble with her eye, kept wiping it away. So whether they scored it that 10-8 because they felt like a damage had been done enough to make it that convincing. And then in that third round, she then cut her eye as well. So she was having trouble with that right eye, and she gets cut on it. Maybe that's why they scored it 10-8. I don't know, but to me,
Yeah.
I would want to see something a little bit more convincing to score a 10-8.
Yeah, I think so.
But wouldn't
So
change the
next,
result
go
either
on.
or way. It wouldn't have
No,
changed the
it was
result either or way.
very impressive.
Mm.
Very impressive display by Jan.
Yeah, agreed.
Next up was again a short fight, but very, very enjoyable. It was Jim Crute versus Michael
Yes.
Orlek
Yeah.
Siskure. Jim Crute versus Mikhail. I should try and work out how to say these. I just struggle with them.
Yeah.
So this finished. Jim Crute beat Mikhail by submission via Kimura, 3 minutes 29 of the first round.
Yeah.
This was a really interesting fight. Like straight away, straight
Yeah.
in, you got Jim Crute who's scoring a takedown and he's getting back
Straight in
control
with that
and
double leg.
landing those,
Yeah.
landing some
Yeah.
really nice strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Mikhail scrambled to his feet and Crute dragged him back down to the ground and he gets
Yeah.
up again and he gets him down again, really kind of scrambling around for a bit of leverage or a bit of not domination, what's the word? Just a bit of control. Mikhail returns to his feet. And then Crute managed to get him against the cage wall. He scores another takedown on Mikhail, but Mikhail gets back up again, and then he gets the other takedown, another takedown, and Mikhail gets up again, and it's very, for 3 minutes of fighting, they got up and down and up and down, exchanging kind of takedown and scrambles. The fighters separate, and Crute attacks Mikhail with a multiple strike combination. Crute scores another takedown on Mikhail, and he gets the full mount, and he transitions to side control nicely, and he locks in the Kimura, and the tap out follows. Although I have to say, it looked like his arm was going to break.
Crikey! The guy's either flexible or just really courageous. Yeah, it bent real far up his back. I find it hard to watch when it's like that. I just was waiting for that shoulder to give way, but
I'm hoping he's flexible.
Yeah, I think he's just flexible. If you have a look at his body type, he's not like an overly muscled kind of guy. He doesn't look like he's tight in the joint. I know they were saying in the commentary that Michael had got himself a strength and condition coach, so he obviously knew strength was an issue. He did look weaker, didn't he? He just looked like he was getting a little bit bullied throughout. Jimmy Crute, he looked good. He looked impressive.
He did look good, yeah.
Started fast, I think he looked over at the cage and just felt that he had the physicality and the technicality to put the beat down on Mikhail, and he did exactly that. It was impressive.
Yeah, power, speed, and technique. When
he had
combined the three, he did look very good. So it'd be interesting to see where he goes now, because he's making a bit of a name for himself.
He is
slowly but surely. So after I watched the Tyson Fury fight, if you'd have told me that there was going to be another fight that I would enjoy as much, just because of how entertaining Fury is, what a great position, what a great performance it was, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But the main event for this UFC was Paul Felder versus the hometown boy, Dan Hooker. And boy, oh boy, what a fight this was.
Man, it was very good. I loved it. It was action from the get-go. And both had their moments. They really did. There was moments where it was just really close, neck and neck. There was moments where one was beginning to look like he was going to get superior over the other. It was back and forth, and they really wore it on their face. Both of them come out well damaged up. But Dan Hooker at the beginning, starting off in round one, his distance management was excellent. He knew he had reach advantage and a slight height advantage as well, and he used that to great effect. Lot of circling foot motion. He was just looking incredible in that first round. Really, really effective, really, really dominant. Nothing in the way of clinching up. They were both trying to go toe to toe in some aspects. But Dan Hooker completely, he totally had control in that first round. It was pretty much the theme all the way through. There was nothing super special about what was going on, just really good distance managing, really good jabs, and calf kicks. He was landing the calf kicks. Although he was landing those calf kicks, they was all received very well. We've seen so often, haven't we? Once one or two of those calf kicks land home clean.
Yeah.
People are not walking properly, and it becomes a theme to a quick demise. But he received them and took them extremely well.
Yeah, it was interesting just from the get-go. It's, ranked number 6 versus ranked number 7. They didn't touch gloves. There was a bit of needle there. Hooker makes
because they didn't shake hands, did they?
No.
Dan decided to walk back, and I was thinking, okay, this is going to be good.
And the first round, like, Dan Hooker's come out. He's been on, he's on fire. He found his range early. He was connecting. He just looked a little bit sharper. Not, massively, just a little bit sharper. Found his range early. Just looked that little bit settled, a bit quicker. And then round 2 comes, and Felder looks, he's found his range and he looks settled. And I thought Felder's footwork in the second round was a lot better.
It was. He was doing exactly what he should have done against someone who's got a little bit of height and range on you, and using that elusive footwork and low hands to be sharp. If you've got lower hands, you can throw a little faster, a little bit more efficiently. But it comes at other prices. So he kept circling, and so what I noticed Paul Felder was doing was he was attacking the inside leg kick, but not from a lead leg perspective. He was actually switching his stance before he threw it. And again, we do a lot of combinations like this in the MMA gym in terms of our MMA striking. We switch a lot of our stances to have combinations from both stance points of views. It doesn't mean you've got to be southpaw when you're not comfortable to be. You literally just go southpaw briefly just to launch your combination from a different standpoint to help confuse your opponent and help deal with different body types. And I was really impressed with Felder's game plan to adapt to what was happening to him in the first round. So he started to look like he was finding home for his own type of leg kick. Okay, he wasn't going at the shin like Hooker was, but but he was loading up some nice hard inside leg kicks and swinging with those hands, which began to hit a little bit more often. It was a competitive round, a competitive second round, more so than the first.
Yeah, and I felt like in the first round, I felt like Felder was a bit static. In his his footwork was a bit slow, and he was kind of making himself an easy target easy target for Hooker to find his range because he was very static. Whereas the second round, he had obviously adapted that and improved that. And like you say, just the way Paul Felder's got an incredible. I really like him as a pundit a lot of the time. I feel like he's got a really good brain for MMA. And like he made the necessary adjustments after the first round. So at the second round for Felder.
I mean, the only issue Felder had really in that second round, which can make it a bit iffy on how the judges may see it, was that he did give up his back in the middle of the cage for a little while. It was all on the feet in terms of having his back, but Dan Hooker couldn't do anything else other than hold the control. He was unable to be effective with any submission attempt or any strikes from there.
He didn't push it on,
that was a sticky moment, which may have undone some of his nice work that he had achieved. But whether that was enough to make it sway in Dan Hooker's favour or not in terms of the judges, I don't know. But I felt like Felder had pulled it back.
I had that one down for Felder. He caught him with a nice left hook as well towards the end of the round. And then actually, straight after the left hook, Hooker went for like a knee strike, and Felder cracked him with a really nice counter left as well.
Yeah, he did.
And the round finished with Hooker having a little bit of a combination of his own, but those two left hooks just before they really found their mark. And I'm not sure, was it that one where there was, I'm not sure if it was that combination or a bit later on where the buzzer went for the end of the round and Hooker was already into a combination. And he
that's
just
right.
let one go after the buzzer.
Yeah.
I think it was that one because I think he felt those two left hooks. And maybe there was a little bit of, frustration there, but perhaps after taking those two shots.
You mean for the end of round two? Is that the one?
I think it was the round two. Yeah. So we go into that third round. They both exchange some leg kicks, and Felder pops Hooker with a right to the midsection, and then Hooker's trying to keep Felder at distance by just sitting behind his jab a little bit.
Yes.
And then Felder nails a nice sort of a counter right uppercut as Hooker is swinging, and Felder cracks Hooker with a left uppercut. They sort of exchange strikes. Hooker nails a kicking Felder with a counter strike combination. And then Felder eats another combination as he's kind of swinging away a bit. And I felt like Hooker, this is where Hooker started to do a bit better again. Just towards the end of this round, because Felder cracked Hooker with a nice sort of counter right. But as he's doing that, he gets hit with another combination, and then
the rounds had started to really wear heavily on Felder's face in this round. He was getting some successes. He was actually going to the calf kick himself a little bit, which had Hooker stumbling off balance. But couldn't make anything of those shin kicks, just as Hooker couldn't on Felder. But nevertheless, they were throwing them in the mix. It's given them each other things to think about in terms of how they come in with that lead leg. Both had their successes, but I just felt like Dan Hooker was just catching those outward strikes, those long range strikes a little bit cleaner, a little bit more often, and seeing Felder more blooded made me feel that Dan Hooker would have edged that third round.
Yeah, so that was the third. I had Hooker take the first, Felder take the second, Hooker take the third. So they were 2-1 Hooker going into the fourth round. Round four, Felder came out and he attacked Hooker with some nice leg kicks. They have a bit of a striking exchange. Felder then cracked Hooker with a really nice counter right, and he followed it up, which I think was a big part of him imposing himself in this round a bit. Because as he followed it up with the two punch combination, and then he hit a swinging Hooker with a nice counter right hook himself. And then Hooker tried to put a bit of distance between them with some leg kicks. But Felder rocked Hooker then with a really big right hook. Hooker just looked a little bit, I don't want to say quite as extreme as shell shocked, but just looked a little bit rattled by here. He was up against the cage wall. But they separate, and Hooker goes for the back control on a Felder as he's standing. They separate again, and Felder cracks him with a really nice right again. And Felder's striking was starting to look really sharp in this round.
He was landing some meaningful looking shots, and Dan Hooker for the first time looked like that elusive game he was playing looked like it was impossible for him to keep implementing. He was looking a little jaded. I think we were seeing a turnaround point in the rounds in terms of their energy levels. It was looking like Felder was the fitter of the two, and keeping that pace going.
Yeah, and I think like I said a minute ago about Felder's MMA brain, I think he really showed it in this round with how he thought about the round and how he approached it. And he really cracked him with a couple of nice shots throughout the round. And then a lot of the time they were kind of counter strikes, and he was waiting for Hooker to try and come in for him, and he would just nail him with some nice kind of counter right hooks. Felder cracks Hooker with a nice elbow strike as the round ends. I had that one to Felder, which makes it 38 all going in to the final round. Do you have that one?
I mean, pretty much the same. Again, you just had one part of the round right in the halfway point where Felder had given up his back standing again. But again, Hooker, couldn't do anything really with it. He could only but really hold the control for a brief period. Couldn't get any, jumping on the back for submission attempts, and couldn't really get effective striking off. Similar to what we saw, with Riedel when he was, in his match where he was giving up his back standing, but was not really receiving any damage from there. So you can't really say that was enough to sway it in the other direction. So I'll give Felder that round.
Yeah, so they go into the final round, or at least on my my scorecard, all even. What did you make of the fifth round, mate? Because the reason I ask you now is because I've just gone off my notes.
Okay, well, now you see, Felder really chasing Dan Hooker down. Dan Hooker had got some swelling on his jaw. His mouth was wide open, slowed up somewhat. He was more looking that he was trying to get, to the end of the fight, hoping that the previous rounds were enough. It no longer really looked like he was hunting for a way to win that particular round. He just wanted to get to the end of the fight. He was circling in big motions. He did manage to take the back at around about the 3-minute mark again. But, just lacking control, really. Felder was able to turn to face him, so his back was no longer given up. He managed to work an under pummel and fight his way back off from the cage, and I was back out in the middle again at the halfway point. And when I was back at the middle, Felder's game just looking like the one with the more energy, the more venom in his shots. He presses him back time again. It's looking like it's setting a rhythm, really. You got Dan Hooker keep trying to land the jab, trying to land the long strikes, not really to do any more damage, but really to try to kill Felder off of him. I just think he had nothing more to give other than a jab and that circling footwork. So you go into the last minute of the round. Dan Hooker was trying all that he can is to try and nail back the round with a takedown, and he did succeed with the takedown. Goes into the closed and then very quickly open guard of Paul. Couldn't really get anything super effective off because Paul managed to get his back up against the fence and start sitting up, blocking Dan Hooker's head. It must have been really frustrating for Dan Hooker. So as they exchange up, Dan Hooker had a punter trying to take the back. I don't remember this bit, right in the closing seconds. And I thought, maybe if he takes the back, he could still back the round. Yeah. But no, he slipped off through tiredness, slipperiness, and just the awkwardness of Paul. Paul was just, like you say, such a clever fighter. I just didn't think it was enough for Dan to pull back that round. And I gave the fight to Paul Felder.
It's interesting because I had it for Felder as well, that final round. But the judges did not. It was a split decision. Dan Hooker won by split decision. 48-47, 47-48, 48-47, which is incredibly close. So close. And can you see why they gave it to Dan Hooker?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what aspects you're looking at. I mean, I suppose you can. I mean, is that it was close enough for you to understand that, someone looking at it in a slightly different viewpoint might give it the other way. Just in my own heart of hearts, I felt that it's Paul Felder that was doing enough for me to win it. And when you have a look at the overall stats for the strikes, you had Paul with 133 significant strikes over Dan Hooker, who had 119. You had body strikes being 21 for Paul Felder, and Dan Hooker had just 8, and the leg kicks which did go in Dan's favour were 36 compared to Paul Felder's 28. So overall, it was all steering for Felder to be the more proactive striker. So Yeah. So what you do? Score the brief back controls that Dan Hooker had on him. Do you score that enough for him to take any of those rounds? I don't think it was enough because it was literally a holding. It's to me, it's like a
Yeah,
takedown. If you take someone down and hold them until the ref stands you up, that takedown ain't scoring very big. And I just felt Dan Hooker's back
did
controls,
that a
although
couple of
they
times,
were,
didn't he?
yeah, although it was control, nothing come of it. And as the fight went on, those back controls become even more brief. Yeah, in my mind of minds, Paul Felder won it through and through each time, but I can understand, especially with the way the judging has always proved to be. It was close enough for it to be seen the other way, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's got nothing to do with the country where the show was, etc.
No.
But I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch of this fight. I got to say, I thought it was a really good, enjoyable fight.
Yeah, it'd be good. I don't think either of them would want to rematch each other from the get-go, though. I think that was grueling from both.
Oh yeah,
Certainly
they're feeding that this morning.
After this, they've got to have respect for each other.
Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? Because they didn't touch gloves at the start, but then straight after the fight, they embraced and they had a few words, which was good to see.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure why the needle. But there was
Yeah,
obviously something.
I think Paul had just said a few things, didn't he, about Dan, and I don't think Dan approved. Yeah, dissing his game a little bit, but yeah, that's just all part of the game.
Story is
I mean,
as long as time, isn't it?
Yeah, if they're going to get wound up by that, God knows what they're going to be like when they face someone like Conor McGregor, because they're going to have to put up with a lot more.
Oh yeah. Okay, so obviously this is about now when we normally finish up our shows, so we got this bit of extra. We're not going to go through, fight by fight at Bellator because it's never ending. We're going to quickly cover Bellator 240 and Bellator Dublin.
Mm-hmm.
Any preference where you're going to want to start on, mate?
I'll let you lead the way. Or you struggling? I've got my notes, but one of them's that way, one of them's upside down.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get.
So I'm going to start with just Aaron Chalmers versus Austin Clem. Aaron Chalmers obviously got a fairly big name in the UK because of Geordie Shaw. He's come under. He had a lot of grief from some Cage Warriors guys. About maybe giving the MMA a bad name. One thing I would say with Aaron Chalmers, I think the difference between him and like that Fame MMA, which was all the like podcasters and celebrities who were doing MMA. The one thing with Aaron Chalmers is he trains full time. He does it day in, day out, and he's doing it as a career. He takes it seriously. He's got a career record, a professional record of 5-1. Is he going to be, the next world champion? Probably not. But if he wants to try it, he wanted to try it when he started. He's putting the work in. He's got himself a proper team. He's doing the right things. Then you can't. I don't think he should be criticised for that. If he's. I think one of the problems was when he first started, like turned pro. I think he called out Paddy Pimblett, which of course, Paddy's always got plenty to say. But also too is like, if you just turn pro, don't kind of call out one of the top guys in the UK. As if you're gonna walk in and beat the guys in the country, I suppose. What did you make of his performance versus Austin Clem? Austin Clem is a very good wrestler.
Absolutely. Yeah, he is a very good wrestler. I mean, Aaron impresses me with his striking. He looked big, he looked strong, and through with some intensity. But Kelm he used his wrestling so well, and he just smothered any of the potential productive work that Aaron could start, getting off. I think if you give Aaron too much space, he could have started looking effective and being effective. But Kelm was slick. You know, he did what he had to do. He had to smother him. He had to really be on him, and he was. And Aaron really didn't have answers to it. To be fair, I think he showed a little bit of lacking in being a complete MMAist. Yeah, I mean, he certainly knows what he's got to go back and work on. He needs to work on some elusivity in terms of perhaps using his footwork and anti-wrestling aspects, as well as learning how to wrestle a little bit better as well, because he just looked lacking against Kelm. But that's how I saw it.
It was
much.
clear that, I think Aaron Chalmers, like you said, that it's something about him, particularly with his strikes.
Yeah.
He's got some impressive strikes, but when it comes to kind of jiu-jitsu and wrestling, that's where he's going to be having the most problem. And you'd expect that for someone so inexperienced. Unless you've come in as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, not so strong with the strikes, you're going to expect the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling to be the weaker side of the people's game. It's just the way it is. But he did struggle every time. And Austin Clem did the right thing, didn't he? He stayed away from the strikes and took him down every time.
And he didn't. He definitely was not the stronger of the two either, Kelm. I mean, he did it all with good timing. He did it all with good technique. He was just a better martial artist at the end of the day.
I'm sorry, I've just gone off my bloody notes. I was going to say the finish, but I think did it go to? Yeah, it went to the decision, that one, didn't it? And it was a clear decision, unanimous decision to Austin Clem. Next up, we had Charlie Ward versus Kyle Courts. This was fairly one-sided, I thought.
I'm just looking at my notes here to recap myself. All right, so Charlie Ward come out with big strikes, and he come out with big strikes and clinched, didn't he?
Big shot.
Yeah, that's right. And who got the takedown? No, Ward got the takedown, didn't he? As well. Yeah, he come out really punching hard, and then got the takedown as well.
Yeah, I think Kyle Kurtz, in his head, thought that he needed to stay away from Charlie Ward's strikes, which obviously Charlie Ward's renowned for his big strikes. And I think he thought, if I can get him to the ground, then I'll be able to, go to work. What he didn't realize is that Charlie Ward is no slouch on the ground.
That's it.
And what Charlie Ward, every time he went to the ground, used his kind of size and his strength to turn it around on Kyle Kurtz, and he was, he nailed some big shots throughout the fight from the ground, whether it was elbows or it was punches, and just right at the end of round 30 seconds to go in round 3, Charlie Ward won with a technical knockout. But Charlie Ward's a very, very experienced MMA fighter, and he used his experience well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he did good. He did good.
And then you had the main event of the MMA Bellator Dublin, which was Liam McCourt versus Judith Ruiz, which went to a unanimous decision. Did you watch this one, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, what did you make of this one? Because I've only seen bits of this.
Yeah. McCourt got the takedown, but Ruiz, scrambled back up, and then Ruiz went into mount position, then went off for an armbar. I'm not too sure whether that was a good decision or not, because obviously going for an armbar could potentially put you on your back. She briefly had mount position, come off, and then got put underneath. But she ended up escaping from this armbar really well. She ended up running out of it. So although she, give up the mount position for the armbar started to look like, oh, that's going to go on. But she did the right thing. She ran out of it and ended up scrambling on top. That was pretty much what the highlight points were of that first round. In second round, in my notes here, as I'll recap through, Ruiz pushes to the cage, and McCourt gets the leg trip again. Stepping across, doing the takedown. She scored that for a second time and gets into mount and then to the back. Ruiz was on top in guard to finish up that round.
Okay.
As we go into round 3, find where round 3 is in it.
It's
Trying
the
to find one.
upside down ones, probably.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, let's see whether I've got it on here.
So let's see what I got. So McCourt got taken down early, 20 seconds into this round. She stands up to improve her position after an activity warning from the referee. Ruiz tried to use a knee to keep her at bay, but McCourt stood up again, 1 minute 48 in, and she jumps back on top in half guard. She gets the full mount round 2, about 2 minutes 20. She hits some nice lefts to the head. Another left elbow smashes home, which causes Ruiz's face some damage. Ruiz gets back to half guard. She tried to push her off the fence, or push off the fence.
Yeah, she tried to. Yeah, she tried to use a technique called single leg X. It looked like she could try to create something from it. She was either going to try and get a sweep or get a leg lock attempt. For a brief bit, but I think at that stage maybe a little bit too tired to make anything of it.
Okay. And McCourt stands of her own accord at just over 4 minutes. She throws Ruiz to the ground, and then she ends the third round on top, and fairly comprehensive victory, I think.
Yeah.
Unanimous decision to Leah McCourt. I'm not sure, but I think that's the first women's main event for a Bellator. I'm not 100% sure.
I didn't know
Cyborg
that
fight. Maybe the Cyborg fight was a main event the other day. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would be.
Probably. I'd imagine it's the first female main event in a like a Irish or British Bellator show at least. And then we move over to Bellator 240, which kicked off with Oliver Enkamp versus Lewis Long. Lewis Long of Pontypridd, Wales. I'm a big fan of his. I was really excited for this fight because they can both really bang. Lewis is good on the floor as well. And it was just one of those. Lewis got knocked down by a spinning back fist. It was one of those where you just get caught. And it doesn't matter how good you are. If you get caught with a spinning back fist, which really hits home, it doesn't matter how technically good you are.
Yeah, that Enkamp, he come out with so much energy, didn't he? He clinched up, didn't he? He was just on him, and I was quite impressed with his tenacity. He's just, really had faith in his cardio. Clearly,
he's got a really good reputation, Enkamp in Sweden and Europe. But he came out with spin kick and this and that and some knees. But Lewis Long is, he'll recover and he'll come back from it. It's just, it's fighting at the end of the day, and sometimes you're going to get nailed with a big shot, and
it
isn't a great deal you can do about it if you get hit on the button.
No, I mean Lewis Long looks like he could be really dangerous. He had he had a moment, didn't he, in that first round where he started getting that guillotine.
Yep.
Do you remember the guillotine?
Around about
1 minute 40 left.
He goes for a standing, guillotine, wasn't it?
Because there was a size difference, I think, or strength difference between them. The other lad looked like a proper boy, sort of thing, physically wise. But yeah, that was his only part where I thought, God, dear me, I was waiting for him to tap. But fair play to him. He got through it like a true warrior and never come off the gas. He was straight back on it. Hitting spinning kicks off that break in that last minute. And and as you know,
he just slipped out of the guillotine, didn't he?
Yeah.
Slipped out the back of it, and
but I wasn't expecting that finish because I just thought it was going to be one of those fights where he kept grinding out the rounds. I didn't think he would have had the outright power. I would put the power in Lewis's long direction. But the precision, you don't have to be super powerful to be precise. And it was with the elbow, wasn't it? I think he was meaning for it to be the fist, but Lewis Long was closing in, and it ended up being the elbow that he caught him with, elbow and forearm. But yeah, nasty. Good finish though. It's a good one for your highlight reel.
Oh yeah, just almost definitely. Then we had Ricky Banderas versus Franz Balumbo. Ricky Banderas won by knockout in this minute, or just over a minute into the second round.
Yes.
Did you see this one?
Yes, I did. I actually really enjoyed watching this. The Franz Malambo, it really impressed me. Really sharp striking. I thought he was coasting this. And when you think how good Ricky is, we know how good he is. He just seemed to be beating him into punch, beating him to the kick. He was looking really sharp. When Ricky was shooting in that first round, he was getting sprawled on. It looked like he was just struggling for some answers. I think he did briefly get Malambo down on his back, didn't he, in the end of the first round? But he got up and nullified it, stopped Ricky, being effective for too long. I gave Malambo that first round, and
me too.
But just like we know that can happen. Things can go pear-shaped really, really quick. It just really shocked me. I just didn't expect this to happen. He got caught, didn't he? And he really protested the stoppage. And I was even not too sure, did it get stopped early? But when you see the replay back, he was out as he went down.
It's those hammer fists really on the floor as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And Ricky, he knows the game. He knows the sport well. He knew to just throw a barrage of quick unanswered shots to kind of force the ref in to stop. But yeah, he was out. Although it was a bit of a flash knockout, it was a knockout nevertheless.
He was done, wasn't he?
A little bit of a shame for that. I think they called him the Black Mamba. That's what's become his nickname. But I think this kid's he's gonna be something. I think this Malambo, although we're seeing a loss, and we shouldn't take it away from Rick. Ricky's obviously very, very talented fighter, and we're going to see some good things from him as well. But this Malambo, he ain't done. I think we're going to see good things from him.
Yeah, he looked like he had something about him, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see him fight again.
And then we had this one before the main event. I missed this one. So it was Kiefer Crosby versus Imiak Furtado. Did you get this one after?
I'm just trying to think. And what was
because I missed this last night? And Crosby
is this one of the ones I couldn't
Furtado,
get?
I think it was. Yeah.
Is this one of the ones I couldn't get?
Okay, so Crosby won via a split decision, which was 29-28, 28-29, 29-28. I've heard that it was quite an enjoyable fight to watch. But I missed it last night, and I wasn't able to watch it today. So I wouldn't want to do these gentlemen a disservice.
I was conferring with you how I could see it, if you remember, and we couldn't get me. I couldn't get any kind of link to see it, unfortunately. Normally the sites that I have are pretty proficient at getting all the fights up, but I think because there were so many, they wasn't able to put them all up, and I really struggled with that one. There was one other fight as well that I struggled with getting access to watch.
So the main event of the Bellator 240 card was Brent Primus versus Chris Bungard. It was quick. And we've got a question actually about the move, which we finished with here, which was a neck crank. But well, we're going to do the questions after this match. So Primus misses with an opening kick. He lands a left hand, takes a couple of elbows, and secures a takedown against the fence. He gets the full mount at 55 seconds. Bungard gives up his back twice, trying to roll out of trouble. And then Primus sits on his side, dropping the hammers, and secures the body triangle lock on the back. And then he slips an arm under the chin, and we are done before the second minute started.
Yeah, he's looking pretty proficient on the ground, isn't he? He's looking convincing.
Not
Didn't
for the
find it
first time.
hard. Yeah, that's it. He's looking good. Yeah,
Smooth.
I think we got a bit of a star here that we're seeing. I've not seen him under pressure in the last few outings. He's got it done and dusted quite quickly. So
he just looks very very smooth on the ground, particularly as soon as it goes to the ground. He just moves through the gears quickly and from position to position with no real kind of issue or anything like that. He just goes bang, 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 job done.
Yeah. It was a proficient night's work for him. But you got to think of how he ended up getting into the ground scenario. This was all started because of a jumping guillotine attempt. Now, if you're ever doing a jumping guillotine, to me, they're best served towards the latter part of a round. Maybe when you've already pretty much won the round, you can take the risk of putting yourself to your back, or maybe you've got nothing else to lose, and then you would perhaps jump a submission in, like jumping guillotine. But to jump a guillotine in the beginning stages, in the beginning minute of the first round, putting yourself on your back against a fresh, proficient grappler, not a good idea. Not a good idea. So
risky, isn't it?
Especially someone who's doing. Yeah, it was a bit of a win that was given to him, to be fair. Not to say he didn't earn it, because you can only do what you can. If someone makes a mistake, you're going to capitalize on it and get the win.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it was kind of given to him a little bit. Very dubious tactics, jumping guillotine.
Indeed. Okay, so we've been going 2 hours, so we're going to do these questions. There's only a couple today. If you guys, if you've got any questions you want to send in for Danny, for the Danny Batten MMA show, which are boxing or MMA related, then you can do so via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or email at acecast. Jesus Christ, start again. Email acenetworkcontact@gmail.com, Twitter and Instagram at acecast_nation, or facebook.com/acecastnation. And you can send them in. Okay, first question. Is Tyson Fury legitimately one of the greatest heavyweights of all time?
It's hard to bet against him. I mean, I do just think different eras bring up different talents in different abundances. And I do think that some of the best boxing we've ever seen would have been in the 1990s in terms of like pool of talents. I don't think there's a massive pool of talent in the weight division, but what can you do? You can only stand out in the era that you're active in. And in terms of that, he's proven legit. I think he could be dealing and matching anyone from any era. Yeah, I absolutely think that. I think a lot of it is his body composition difficulty. He's 6'9". He's a giant of a man. So he's not only tall, he's heavy, and the guy can box. He's got footwork to go along with that height and reach that he's got. So yeah, I do think he's definitely up there as a great. And on top of all that, he's an absolute nice character. A nice guy.
Yeah. He's crazy agile for someone who's 6'9", I gotta say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think Fury will face Wilder again, and should he?
No, I think this is a done deal now. It wouldn't excite me to see it again. I don't think
put it to bed.
Even hardcore boxers. Yeah, I don't think even hardcore boxers want to see it again.
The only way I want to see that again is if they do Wilder versus AJ and Wilder sparks AJ out in like 2 rounds or something.
Yeah,
then
possibly
then I can do it again.
Yeah, but that'd be about the only way. But yeah.
Do you think AJ will avoid Fury for a couple more years to try and get him on his decline? Or do you think if he faces him in the summer like Eddie Hearn is making out?
Well, we all would want him to face him while he's at his peak, don't we? But we know from boxing of old, unfortunately, boxers end up facing themselves when facing each other when we've got these potential really good matchups when they're past their peak. So, the sadness of the situation is probably going to be that way again. It's partly because these boxers get paid such a huge amount of money that, they don't truly have to face each other.
I think Tyson Fury wants it. I truly believe because I truly believe that Tyson Fury wants to be the greatest ever. He wants to be considered the greatest ever, and he knows to do that he needs to beat AJ. He needs to beat everyone.
Yeah. And I think he would beat AJ as well. I just think he's
this
just
is the other side to it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's a boxer too much for AJ.
The other side to it being that Fury wants to face AJ to be the greatest, considered in the conversation for the greatest ever, whereas AJ has got to be looking at Fury and thinking, do I want that? Do I want to face a motivated Tyson Fury who's in good shape and
because he did not look tired. He didn't even look tired because I was a little concerned about the fact that he was getting so much bigger. He was heavier this time around. I thought, crikey, is that going to telltale in his gas tank? But he absolutely did not look tired. He was fainting with his head movement, fainting with his hands. He had footwork. Yeah, he looked good.
Really good, and I enjoyed talking about that tonight. So, last question: what's the difference in pain or panic between a neck crank, like in the Bellator main event, and a tight rear naked choke? Tired now.
Okay, so rear naked choke, it really doesn't hurt. It's the sensation of suffocating and can't breathe. It's just horrible. I'm not so sure actually that submission was actually a crank. I think when you're putting the forearm across the jaw like so, it opens your jaw, and then your jaw cuts off your windpipe. That's quite often what happens in these situations.
That sounds.
But brutal. I can understand why people might think that's a crank. But in terms of an actual crank, your neck's gone to full turn, and it's the feeling that something's going to give way, and you don't want your neck giving way because you're going to be paralyzed, right? It's not nice when you know that something's at full lock, particularly when you know it's your neck. Neck cranks they're more painful and more discomforting, but the panic feeling of someone being around your neck and squeezing, it's just suffocating, it's repressing, and it's not comfortable for a totally different reason, but certainly not painful.
So you can have your neck cranked to full lock, so you feel like you're going to get paralyzed. You can get
that'll be more painful,
or have your jaw pushed into your windpipe.
Your jaw opens and then it presses in, and it can choke you in that fashion.
They all sound brutal to me.
They're all not nice. I wouldn't want any of them to happen to me if I could help it.
Indeed. Okay, so myself and Danny will be back next week, I believe. We have new shows all the time. Check out our show on Friday with former England fast bowler Chris Lewis, first edition of My Story. Every Monday, 7 p.m, the Untitled Championship show. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook. Links in the description. Check out Danny's bstacademy.co.uk. Links in the description. Don't forget, we have a away day apparel, 10% off code, also in the description. And I said last week on the football show that any purchases from my Teespring store for the next 30 days from last Monday will be, my cut of that will be donated to the flooding victims in the Rhondda Valleys for the next 30 days. It's not a massive cut, my cut, but my cut will nonetheless 100% of it will go to the flooding victims in the Rhondda valleys, as people have lost everything, had their homes decimated, lost their businesses, their tools, their vans, everything. So for those of us who have been lucky, very lucky, it's up to us to try and do what we can to help out. Danny, it's been a pleasure as always, mate. A nice long show.
Yeah.
Be dreaming about boxing and MMA tonight, mate.
Oh my goodness. I don't think I'm too tired to dream, if that's possible. Because that was quite a day's studying, that was.
Yeah, and now I got first day back of school tomorrow for my youngest boy as well. Oof.
My goodness. Good luck to you.
Early morning tomorrow. Yes, indeed. Right there, mate. We'll see you next week. Yeah. And everyone, don't forget to spread the word. Tell your friends, tell people, share. And we'll see you next week for another episode of the Danny Batten MMA show. Cheers, guys.
Defending champion, welcome, Danny Batten.
You win.
Number one.